We are also about to hear from officials in Wichita, Kansas, where that American Airlines flight took off from yesterday. This is a live news briefing. Let's listen in.
And we will share those details and confirmed information when we receive that. I want to first thank also the first responders in Washington, D.C., who have worked tirelessly throughout the night. And at this time, we have been told that there are no survivors. We mourn with all those who have been impacted. This is a terrible tragedy that will unite those in Washington, D.C. and Wichita, Kansas forever. As we know, an American Airlines jet carrying 64 people plunged into the Potomac River after colliding in midair with an Army helicopter on Wednesday night. We're hearing recovery teams in Washington, D.C. had pulled more than 24 bodies from the icy waters. We do not know yet final confirmation on all of the individuals who were on that flight. And of course, we will share that information, but not before families have been first contacted. Congressman Ron Estes is here with us this morning, and I would like to invite him to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mayor Wu, and thank you for all of the city council members for holding this press conference to help share this information. This is such a tragic day for our community. So many of us will be touched by people that we know directly or indirectly that were victims of this tragic tragedy that happened. You know, overnight I was in contact with the White House Situation Room, getting updates as they were going through the process. I spoke last night with the chairwoman of the National Transportation Safety Board as well. And at that point in time, their investigation was they were getting prepared for that, but they were waiting for the search and rescue efforts to conclude before they started that investigation. So I know this is going to be a tragedy that touches our community. We have such a steep history of being involved in aviation, and being a close-knit community like we are, it's going to have consequences for years to come. I do want to make a general comment about air safety in general. I mean, we have the safest skies in any country in the world. And when a tragic incident like this happens, obviously we want to do the investigation, which will take days and weeks to go through that process, and to make sure that we can prevent accidents like this from happening in the future. And so I appreciate all of the updates we'll have this morning. I know there will be more coming out, both from here in Wichita as well as in D.C. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Congressman. We also have a representative for Senator Jerry Moran, who will share a statement as well.
Mayor, thank you. I'm Mike Zammerslow with United States Senator Jerry Moran's office. The senator asked me to share the following statement on his behalf. Wichita is located in the heart of our nation, and today we are grieving. I received confirmation this morning that no one survived the crash of American Airlines Flight 5342. This is a sad day for Kansans and our nation as we awaken this morning to this tragic news. My heart grieves for the lives that were lost and their loved ones, who are now learning that their friend or family member was among those who perished. There will be much to learn and to do in the coming days in the wake of this tragedy. But today, please join me in praying for Kansas. May God comfort those who are mourning. Mayor, thank you.
I would like to now ask our airports director, Jesse Romo, to provide some updates. And again, a lot of the details are still waiting for confirmation. And so we ask that Jesse give us the latest that we have confirmed.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Jesse Romo, Director of Airports, Wichita Airport Authority. I don't have a lot of official information to share. We will get that directly from NTSB. American Airlines will be providing the official updates and information. They do have a newsroom that you can go to online. The website is aa.com/newsroom. There's also an 800 number to utilize for the friends and family members of the people aboard the flight, 1-800-679-8215. I will say that airport staff did activate our family incident support team last night. And so if family members did show up to the terminal to have additional information, even for support, we were there with them with our team of volunteers, along with other airline staff and representatives. The airport remains open. There is air traffic continuing. Right now, we do have fog, so I would ask everybody to please drive safe as you're headed to the airport or traveling today, and keep up with your airline for additional information.
All right, you've been listening to a news conference in Wichita, Kansas, about that deadly midair collision that happened last night. You heard there from the mayor, Lily Wu, along with Representative Ron Estes. And it was reiterated, Adriana, how safe America is when it comes to air travel. So people should understand that. I know Tony is near, though, the scene of the crash, near Reagan National Airport. Tony, what are you learning this morning?
Hey, Vlad, good morning. A little trouble hearing you. We've been reset again. We were on the Potomac early this morning. Viewers of our 7 a.m. broadcast on the East Coast will recall. And then we were inside at the press conference. Now we've made our way to a vantage point where you can see the control tower from Reagan National Airport, where those crucial audio message originated in an attempt to communicate with the helicopter and the airliner. The collision not prevented, of course. One of the questions we've all had this morning, it's come up in the press conferences. We've been thinking about it as well, is what was going on aboard that Army helicopter, that UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter that we understand originated from Langley, CIA headquarters. Charlie D'Agata is our Pentagon correspondent, and I believe we have him on the line. He's been looking into this side of the story. Charlie, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. As soon as we heard about this last night, the first thing we did was call officials here at the Pentagon. We just assumed it was a military helicopter that was involved. You said it yourself. You can see the amount of traffic. It's a very congested area. The Army tells us these are the facts so far. And by the way, we're expecting a press conference with the Defense Secretary, the new Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, within the next 20 minutes or so. The Black Hawk belonged to B Company, 12th Aviation Battalion. Officials confirmed, as we've been reporting, 3 people on board. There were no senior officials. And I mention that because sometimes these helicopters are tasked with getting senior defense officials up and down and across the D.C. area, which is why, I know it's been described as routine. It is routine. It's a very close, congested area, but it is routine to see these Black Hawk helicopters up and down that area near the airport. As I said, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth last night said investigation was launched immediately using the Army and the Defense Department, although this is driven by the NTSB. He called the incident absolutely tragic. The helicopters, as I said, they can be used to take military personnel around the D.C. area. And as part of their training, they need to travel in the congested airspace.
Charlie, we had a conversation earlier with a veteran Black Hawk helicopter pilot, a former battalion leader, a lieutenant colonel, who told us that one of the questions he would have is whether the pilots of this aircraft had night vision goggles on or not in this training mission. He said without the goggles, they'd have a pretty good range of vision. The Black Hawk is actually pretty good for visibility, and they'd have people assigned to looking out. But with the goggles on, it would radically change their field of visibility. Do you have any insight on that front?
Not yet, and that's one of the questions that we've been asking, and I think one of the reasons they're probably trying to control the message is they don't want to get ahead of the Defense Secretary. We also have to point out here, we will be asking the questions. A training mission doesn't necessarily mean that you're dealing with an inexperienced crew. Logic would state that you wouldn't have an inexperienced crew in that area around the airport for reasons that we've already discussed. So it will come down to what they were using, what they were equipped with, their experience. Those are the questions we'll be putting to the Defense Secretary later. But again, the officials that we've spoken to sort of drill down. Yes, it was a training mission. In a manner of speaking, many missions are, unless you're transporting one person from one area to another. They could be described as that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there was a lack of experience among this flight crew.
Absolutely, and training mission doesn't mean, and it was an unimportant mission either. There was a purpose. It was on the docket for a reason. Charlie Daggett, thank you very much. Vlad and Adriana, as I throw it back to you, I am reminded and struck by a comment from Robert Eisen, the CEO of American Airlines, as we just hear Charlie's reporting at this initial stage on the Army side of things. The CEO of American Airlines said that the Army helicopter, quote, came into the path of the commercial airliner. So the perspective from American at this hour is we were on track, we were on our path. It was something from their trajectory that caused this accident. That's the statement from the press conference just a few moments ago. Of course, we're going to keep following it as I send it back to you guys in New York.
So much to piece together, Tony. Thank you so much.